The next important step 4, is pelvic floor rehab. So this step is crucial for guys who have decades of tension, anxiety, and sexual shame stuck in the pelvic region. We need to start breaking all of that fascia apart, all of the trapped and stored tension, the emotions, the trauma that's stuck in the tissues of your body. We need to break all of that apart and bring relaxation. This is why yoga was so good for me, because I was spending hours a day just stretching, moving, breathing. I needed more than just yoga. I needed to focus directly on the pelvic floor, which is something that I studied. We need to learn to balance the muscles of the pelvic floor by strengthening and lengthening them. It's not enough just to do Kegels and make a really strong pelvic floor muscles. We also need to learn to do the reverse Kegel and open up the pelvic floor. This is one of the main sort of gripes that I have with mainstream medical approaches. Like, just do Kegels. Do Kegels. Even the yoga school that I was a part of was like, do Mula Bandha all day long, thousands and thousands of reps of Mula Bandha, or the Kegel contraction. The Kegel is the muscles between your balls and your anus, and you can basically stop the flow of urine. We pull, it's a pulling, sort of from the back of the balls towards the anus. You can pull those muscles. That's a Kegel. That is great because we want a strong pelvic floor, and for some guys that can work, but for a lot of guys, their pelvic floor is tense and tight, and a Kegel is just adding more tension and strength to muscles which are already overly tight. So we also need to learn to relax and open up and create space. So for that, we need to learn how to do reverse Kegels. We need to learn to push down, to open, to expand the pelvic floor. This bowl, this basin needs to basically open because it's already super tight, super crunched up. If we just tense and tighten the pelvic floor, it's crunching things more. It's not opening and expanding. In order to get rid of these involuntary contractions that we have, these spasms, we need to open the space. And for that, we need to breathe into the belly, expanding the diaphragm. We need to relax and open those muscles. We need to consciously let go of the tension and practice reverse Kegeling. I was doing reverse Kegels all day, every day. That was like when I understood that, because I was already practicing Kegels like a maniac, but that was actually just making me even more tight. Once I understood about reverse Kegels, I was doing that shit daily. I was having dedicated daily practice, 10, 20 minutes a day, just focusing on learning how to do reverse Kegels. And once I got in that habit, it just became a reflex. Like, I was literally walking around reverse Kegeling all day long, such to the point that my pelvic floor became so loose, so relaxed. I was also doing exercises to correct my anterior pelvic tilt. So when the pelvis is tilted towards the anterior, we have this tipping motion, this duck bum. The pelvis tilt rotates forward because we have really tight adduct hip flexors. We have a tight lower back. We need to learn to basically reverse that process and bring our pelvis into proper alignment. When the pelvis is in proper alignment, reverse Kegels are much more easy to, integrate and practice. If the pelvis is out of alignment and we have this tipped position of the pelvis, we can do reverse Kegels, but they struggle to open things up. They won't be as effective. So we need to learn to bring our hips into the proper alignment. And for that, we need to, focus on a whole protocol of exercises, which will help to fix that. You can find tutorials on YouTube for this. It's also something I take care of in my online course. We focus a lot on this. And basically, we want to be like a gymnast down there. Strong, very strong, but also flexible and relaxed. That's kind of the key. And yeah, bringing the sort of balancing the pelvic floor and focusing on pelvic floor rehab will really allow you to keep things loose and relaxed. And especially when you get really good at reverse Kegels, these become the main sort of control mechanism in combination with your breath and making sound to regulate your arousal levels, to move yourselves up and down, and to keep yourself away from the point of no return. If I get really close to the point of no return, I take a breath, engage my diaphragm, and do a reverse Kegel. And that pushes me down. That pushes the pleasure away. It stops things being overwhelming. And when I really drilled that mechanism on a daily basis, it became like a knife, like I could cut the pleasure. It would start building, 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 and then I could push down, relax, breathe, and I would find myself back, instead of at a 10, I was back down to a 7 or a 6. So this is crucial. If you're not practicing reverse Kegels daily, you're going to struggle to make a lot of progress. So I can't emphasize that enough, is you need to become a master, like a wizard with the reverse Kegel. We also want to integrate a certain amount of Kegels to balance and strengthen, to make sure we have, a strong pelvic floor. But for most guys, especially for the guys that have extreme premature ejaculation, we need to bring like a lot of relaxation, a lot of reverse Kegling. I would say focus 90% on reverse Kegels for the first few months. And integrate reverse Kegels into your self-pleasure practice. Practice them outside of that, practice them throughout the day, but as you go into self-pleasure, you're going to practice using the reverse Kegel to lower your arousal. If you want to speed up your arousal and get closer to the point of no return, you can do a Kegel. You contract the pelvic floor, things will get tighter, those spasms will be more intense, and you will tip yourself towards orgasm much quicker. The more tense you are, the more you're going to overload the system. The more relaxed you are, the less room, the less you're going to overload the system, the more space you're going to have to contain that energy. You also just need to stretch everything. Like all of the muscles that connect into the pelvic floor, they need to be limbered up. I'm stretching my abdominal, I stretch my lower back, I stretch all of the leg muscles. I have a yoga flow that I promote and give to the guys that are interested in doing this work, which basically takes them through like a full body relaxation and stretching. So we can just bring a measure of like calming the whole system down, creating more relaxation in your whole body. Because all of the muscles, they all tie in, they all connect, everything's connected. And obviously they all tie into the pelvic floor. So we want to make sure we're not just practicing reverse Kegels and opening the pelvic floor. We need to stretch everything to teach your whole body to relax. And that's what my yoga practice really gave me, was a full body relaxation, teaching myself to calm down, to relax, and then I took that attitude. I would take that, I would relax first, then I would go into self-pleasure. And everything was much more loose. Everything was much more open. Everything was much more relaxed. There's actually specific stretches and poses and postures we can do to actually alleviate the tension in the pelvic floor. I love to spend a lot of time in the deep squat, in the Hindi squat, just resting in the bottom position. That opens the pelvic floor. We can do a lot of cat-cow stretching to sort of mobilize and get used to like stretching that region. I love the cobra pose for, liberating the tension in my abdominals. I like to stretch my glutes, my quads. Everything gets stretched. I have a tennis ball that lives here on my desk because I sit on the tennis ball, because this is a really great tool for getting into the tension of the pelvic floor. I put this on the pelvic floor. It helps to give me some proprioceptive sort of feedback. I can feel the muscles easier. And I use this to break up the tension, break up the tissue and the fascia, and actually relax those muscles. It's very useful. Little tips and tricks like this help quite a lot.